Tonight, it's my real pleasure to introduce three really delightful, talented, capable women who are students at our own SIU School of Medicine. And this month, February, is always our program on global health that we do in partnership with the SIU School of Medicine. And I'd like to recognize their sponsor, whose name is Lori Lobb, who's here with us tonight. Welcome, Lori. We're so pleased you could join us. We're really excited to hear about their experiences, to see pictures of their time that they spent in Central America, and to hear about the work of their global or health organization. We have with us Ashley Ann Walker, a third-year medical student. We have Sophie Mounce, was that right, Mounce? Also a third-year medical student. And Julie, and I'm going to mangle this, Guaglianone? Okay, Guaglianone, thank you, who's a second-year medical student. You have their biographic statements on your table, so I'm not going to go through that. You are welcome to ask them any questions about their career choice, about their experiences after we do our presentation. And we will also hear about what they're planning for next year. So Ashley, Sophie, and Julie, come on up.
All right, thank you all for having us. We are so excited to be here with Wacky tonight. Especially thankful for the food. It's always nice getting free food as a medical student. All right, so let's get started. Just introducing all of ourselves. So my name is Ashley Ann Walker. Like Kathy said, I am a third-year medical student at SIU. I am currently interested in pursuing urology, and I served as the chapter president for our 2023 trip to Panama.
Hello everyone, my name is Sophie Mounce. Like Kathy said, I'm a third-year medical student. I'm interested in emergency medicine and obstetrics and gynecology, so I'm trying to decide between the two. And I served as the fundraising chair for our trip in 2023.
Hi, I'm Julie Guaglianone. I'm a second-year medical student, and at this point I'm not quite sure what I'm interested in, but I'm still exploring and considering internal medicine and general surgery. I'm the new vice president this year, so
we're passing on the torch to Julie for next year. Also, our education chair, Stephanie Viteri, is a third-year medical student. She's interested in general surgery. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us tonight, but we do have our faculty advisor here, Dr. Lori Lobb. If you could raise your hand for us. Awesome, thank you. And she'll be speaking a little bit towards the end of this, so you will get to hear her perspective as a physician. So just a little bit about us. So SIU School of Medicine's Global Health Interest Group is a student-led organization, and our mission is to serve those around the world who are in need. Our goals as an interest group are to attend an annual mission trip, as well as increase awareness of international health issues. We also aim to create opportunities for medical students to engage in global health through fundraising, through our mission trips, as well as local opportunities. We also participate in book club, which is yet to happen this year, but hopefully soon. Some social events, like we had Lori host us at her house, thankfully, with her family. Medical Spanish lectures, which we had one from Stephanie, again, who's not here tonight. And then an educational series, which we just started, and we'll talk about that for a little bit as well. So here was one of our most recent events. We partnered with Feed My Starving Children, and for those of you who are not aware, it's a Christian organization where basically they package food and send it to third world countries around the world in order to serve children in need. So we had this event at Hope Church. They hosted about 26 of us medical students, as well as other community volunteers who packaged food. We loaded all of our boxes of food up into a truck and sent it on its way. And I think in total, we were able to serve a couple hundred children from just about a 2-hour packing series. And this might be a familiar face if you were with WACI last year. This is Dr. Adim Agama. He started off our speaker series with Global Health Interest Group. We had a meeting with him, I believe, back in December, where he kind of talked to us about his International Health and Development Network. Their mission is to seek to effectively and sustainably provide primary healthcare programs in small towns and villages in the developing world. So for those of you who weren't there last year, Dr. Agama is a hematologist-oncologist at SIU. He presented to us about the origins of his nonprofit organization, IHDN, whose mission is to seek to develop effective and sustainable primary healthcare programs. In addition, coming up in March, we have Dr. Kariana Branham, who is an incredible family medicine physician who will be speaking to us as well. And she'll be talking about her medical service electives that she offers to fourth years in medical school. And we will be attending a mission trip as well. And with the help of her family's organization, nonprofit organization, International Assist Medical Missions, which focuses on short-term medical trips to underserved areas. She'll kind of lead us on another medical brigade. And I believe this year they are going to Costa Rica to serve. So getting into the fun stuff, this is just a picture of us from our 2023 medical brigade to Panama. So as we stated in our objectives, our goal as an interest group is to attend a medical service brigade in order to serve those around the world who are under-resourced and underprivileged. As a child of 2 Jamaican immigrants, I gained a special appreciation for my heritage and my culture and my family members who are doctors. And my appreciation eventually developed into a yearning to become a medical physician myself and a desire to learn about healthcare disparities as a whole. While I was searching for opportunities as an undergraduate student to help aid in abolishing these said disparities, I was introduced to the nonprofit organization Global Brigades as a junior in college. Then I attended a 9-day brigade to Honduras with about 40 of my peers from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. There, I found a passion for serving the underserved. I had hopes for returning on another brigade in 2020, but of course COVID had another plan for me. And so COVID-19 shut down the world. I was forced to stay home that year, unfortunately. After adjusting to medical school during my first year, I thought to myself, there's more that I can be doing here for other people who are not as fortunate to be practicing medicine and having access to healthcare in the United States. And with that being said, my second year rolled around, and with the encouragement of my roommate, Sophie, and the approval of my dean, I decided to bring Global Brigades to SIU. And then the Global Health Interest Group was born. So just a little bit about Global Brigades. Global Brigades is an international nonprofit organization that empowers communities to meet their health and economic goals through university volunteers and local teams. Their mission is entitled The Power 300. The primary objective is to empower 300 communities to permanently rise out of global poverty. And they use this through 3 overarching programmatic goals that are healthcare, water and sanitation, or WASH, and economic development. Global Brigades works in Guatemala, Nicaragua, Panama, Honduras, Greece, and did I say Ghana? I might have missed that. Aside from my previous experience with Global Brigades, I thought this was an excellent opportunity to bring to Southern Illinois University, since it perfectly aligns with our Triple Aim Plus One, which is to provide healthcare that is effective, efficient, equitable, and enjoyable. We have a quick video here.
At Global Brigades, we're committed to building a world of greater equality, in which all people are empowered to create a better life for themselves and their families. We do this by partnering with rural and under-resourced communities in Latin America and West Africa. We powerfully and concretely change the lives of our community partners by making investments in healthcare, economic development, and clean water. This empowerment process kicks off with Brigades, 7 to 10-day collaborations between university students, community members, and local staff to build the community's infrastructure and capacity for development. But after a brigade is ended, what happens to the work that we've done? How is it sustained? How is it built upon? The answer to this question can be found in our relationship with Zozular. Zozular is a farming community in rural Honduras and one of Global Brigades' first partners. Community leaders reached out to Global Brigades back in 2009, and soon, Brigades were training health workers to deliver year-round medical care, establishing a banking system to drive prosperity, and constructing a water system to bring clean water into every home. But we didn't just invest in infrastructure, we invested in people. We knew that the community's members would ultimately be the ones responsible for sustaining anything that we did. We therefore trained and cultivated local leadership and built the capacity of the community to initiate and sustain their own projects. By 2012, Zozular didn't need us. It was providing its own members with health care, economic opportunity, and clean water. What Zozular taught us is this: we're successful when a community is empowered to lead its own development. So what's Global Brigades' role in all of this? And how does our role change as the community grows more empowered? We start out as a spark. Our brigaders and staff help community members get the training, infrastructure, and support they need to kick off a holistic cycle of development. Together, we build essential infrastructure and invest in the community's capacity for development. Once the community's fires are lit, however, our job is to step back. We stop sending brigades and material assistance, and instead focus on deepening relationships with the community and supporting local leadership. We become like old friends and trusted advisors. Global Brigades technicians meet with community leaders, check up on health and water infrastructure, and consult on different initiatives. We sustain the relationship, and we ensure that the fire we helped spark years ago continues to grow for years to come. Making this transition can be hard for us sometimes. It can be tempting to think that our community partners will always need us, and that there will always be a need for more brigades. The truth we learn from Zozular, however, is that success is when communities are empowered to lead their own development. This is when we get to celebrate. We link arms with our community partners and celebrate the change that we've made in each other's lives. Global Brigades envisions thousands of Zozulars, where every community is empowered to take charge of its own development. To get there, we're going to have to grow the movement. This is where you come in. 1. Join a brigade. Work alongside peers and community members to set in motion a community's sustainable development. You can learn more at globalbrigades.org. 2. Contribute to the Sustainable Transition Fund. Accelerate the pace of change with a direct donation to our programs. For every $100 invested, we can double the impact of a volunteer's contribution to our communities. You can make a gift at globalbrigades.org/donate. Whether it be your time or funds, we invite you to join us. Together, we're creating a more equitable world in which all people are able to provide for themselves and their families. This is how we define success. This is empowerment. This is Global Brigades.
All right. So we ended up going to Panama, and out of all the great options of where we could have went, why Panama? So there is lack of access to clinics in Panama. So rural communities rarely actually have clinics in them or near them. And if they do have clinics, they're not always staffed with physicians or nurses, nor do they have the needed medications. In addition, the quantity of physicians is very low. The physician density in Panama is about 1.6 doctors for every 1,000 people, and 0.3 people out of 10,000 have no access to a dentist. Our team of people who joined us on our Global Brigades included about 8 SIU students. We paired with a osteopathic medical school, Idaho College of Medicine, which also had about 8 students. We took 2 pre-medical University of Illinois Springfield students with us, as well as a few individual volunteers, including Dr. Loft's lovely 2 daughters. And what did we do while we were in Panama? We set up 2 free clinics in 2 different underserved communities. Those communities were Guaglianone and Cananza, and that happened over the span of 4 days. While we were there, we assisted in filling prescriptions, medical documentation, as well as public health education. And again, when we were there, we were accompanied by a very large group of students, including 2 other medical students from Georgetown University and Washington University in St. Louis.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about how our clinic was set up. Usually they set up these clinics in a kind of central place in the community that the community members are familiar with, which is usually a school. And they'll set up in different classrooms, the different stations that we work through. So as you can see, we start out with the intake station, then they move to triage, then a consultation with the physician, and then a charla, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, and then they go and pick up their drugs at the pharmacy. So starting off at the clinic stations for the intake station, they'll travel usually for several hours to get to our location. It's like the closest clinic they can get to. And they'll usually wait in line until the first station before we even get to the community sometimes. And so the volunteers will have an opportunity to work with some local people as well. So the community leaders to help take in the patient's information and get them going along the line. So certain things like their name, age, gender, community of residence, and also some past medical history is also recorded at that point. And they have an electronic medical system that they use to keep track of the patients. And because we'll go for a week, but they'll have other brigades that are coming later, they can also keep track of the patients. If they come to another clinic, they'll be in their system. So at triage, this is where we get to do a little bit of fun hands-on stuff. We get to take blood pressures and get the oxygen saturation or pulse of the patients whenever they're checking in. We also ask them about allergies, family histories, and kind of why they came to the clinic that day. Some of us aren't able to speak Spanish very fluently, so they did have translators that were there to help us out whenever we needed it to. And then the next station was the consultation with a physician. So we had Lori as one of our physicians there, but they also had a couple of local physicians that were treating the patients as well. And we were able to shadow them in the clinic on those days. So it's a licensed doctor that they get to see, and they'll ask the additional questions and diagnose the patient, and they'll also be able to prescribe the medication for them as well. And we also have the opportunity to ask questions and kind of learn about the different diseases that maybe we don't get to see here that they have in Panama. Then the final station is the pharmacy. And so this is where the prescriptions that the doctors have written gets to go, and we get to fill out, the volunteers get to fill out the prescriptions under the supervision of a licensed pharmacist. They have to approve everything that we do just to make sure that everybody gets what they're supposed to get. And then they usually keep families together, so kind of get a big packet of papers and kind of walk all around trying to pick up the prescriptions for everybody. It's a lot of fun. But usually whenever we had doubt or didn't know what the prescription was, we could go ask the pharmacist for help, and they would usually know where everything is. And then also the pharmacist would talk with the patients once they receive the prescriptions and kind of go through how to take it, and so they understand the directions of the medications that they were getting. And then kind of a fun station that we got to do is called Charla. So it's about a chat or a conversation with patients about different public health issues. We specifically talked about hand washing, teeth brushing, flossing, and how to find clean water. And so we were able to give these presentations in Spanish with the help of some translators. Again, because some of us weren't fluent in Spanish at the time, but so it was a lot of fun because you kind of get to interact with kids a lot. They demonstrate, brushing their teeth, and then they also get their own hygiene packets at that time with toothbrush, floss, shampoo, and all sorts of things. So they get to practice a little bit too.
So us as volunteers, we have to gather supplies to bring, and we were able to bring hundreds, more than 300 toothbrushes, over 700 tubes of toothpaste, 140 units of floss, even COVID tests, soap, shampoo, conditioner, condoms, urine test strips, and a lot more supplies. A lot of that we used on our trip, but whatever's left over gets used on the other trips that come through. So anything extra just goes to Global Brigades that they're able to allocate to different areas that need it. And our time there is estimated that we were able to help over 300 patients who otherwise would have had limited or no access to health in their area. So overall, we had 8 volunteers affiliated with SIU, as we mentioned. Many of us were year 3 or going into year 3. We had some going into year 2, and then we had one student that was going into their 4th year. So a lot of this stuff was put into those hygiene backpacks that Julie talked about, and we gave them out in Charla. So prior to heading to Panama, we had our education chair, Stephanie, host a few meetings with us to go over history, culture, and the language of Panama. Our group is very fortunate that our education chair, her first language is Spanish. She's actually from Ecuador. So she was able to not only give us a top-notch Spanish lesson, she was also able to give us great insight on the culture in Central and South America. So at these meetings, we covered topics such as reciprocity, volunteerism, and use of social media while we were going to be there. And we did this so that we were able to carry out our brigade in the most respectful and altruistic way. So for those not familiar with the term volunteerism, it means that short-term trips without consistent support in those areas focused on providing experiences for the volunteers instead of helping those in the community that they're going to serve. So Global Brigades has teams in these communities year-round. So that isn't an issue with their program and their nonprofit because they keep people on the ground there at all times to help these communities while they strive to get to that economic freedom that they're that the program is helping them get to. So because of these teaching sessions, our group came to Panama ready to understand and learn from the people in Panama and be able to treat them in the best way that we could.
Just a quick addition. One of the things that we really focused on too was obviously we are young women who love our cell phones. So being wary of who we're taking pictures of and why, that was a huge thing that we discussed in our meeting prior to going. If we were taking a picture of a patient, we would ask them beforehand. And you probably noticed throughout the PowerPoint, most of these pictures are of us as volunteers and not of the people we were serving because they weren't props to us. They were real people who needed healthcare provided to them, and that's what we were there to do.
So again, having those meetings gave us the frame of mind to go to Panama, ready to learn and appreciate the culture on top of the volunteering that we were doing there. So our first day in Panama, we got to meet with some indigenous Panamanian people, and they shared their culture with us through demonstrating traditional dances and rituals, as well as handmade clothing, jewelry, and these fun tattoos that we were able to purchase from them. In the top right corner, you can see Alexis, maybe not from far away, but she is showing off her tattoo that she got, which is made from a fruit juice, and they kind of paint it on your skin. It's used as like sun protection, and throughout the days it gets darker into like a dark blue color. These tattoos, they use them in their rituals as well to represent different parts of nature. I remember the one that I got represented a bird that's local to the area. So that was pretty interesting. Throughout the rest of the week, we ate Panamanian food. There's an example picture up there. So a lot of meat, rice, and beans, similar to what we had for dinner tonight. And some of the most amazing fresh fruit juices you can think of. So delicious. We got to play Panamanian card games with the kids, speak, or in my case, attempt to speak Spanish with some of the locals. Luckily, like I said, we had Stephanie there with us who is fluent in Spanish, so she really aided in communicating with the people. Throughout my time there, I noticed I took Spanish in high school, so I had some rusty Spanish, in there, and throughout the week, I got more and more comfortable and was able to communicate better and better every day. So that was really great to see. Overall, it was an honor getting to learn and experience so much with the people of Panama. So fundraising, which again, I was the fundraising chair. So this is kind of my area. The trip per person was around $2,700. So half of that, a little over half of that was for the medications we were providing, our room and board, food, that kind of stuff. And then the rest was our flight to get there. So to offset some of that cost, because again, we are medical students, we hosted some events, including a trivia night, casual day fundraiser, Panda Express, Dine to Donate. So the two smaller ones were the casual day fundraiser, which was a program throughout the School of Medicine system where people could dress down for the day and pay some money, and that money went to our program. And then the Dine to Donate is just what it sounds. You go to Panda Express, and part of the proceeds went to our organization. But our main event was the trivia night we hosted, which was very, very fun. And we had a silent auction involved. We were very fortunate to partner with many local businesses in Springfield, including Nelson's Catering, Cafe Moxo, Bose's Corn Dogs. If you've ever been to the State Fair, they're the best. Rico Pizza, Club Car Wash, and then St. Joseph's Church. They actually gave us their gymnasium for free to host the event. And then my parents, Dan and Diane Mounce, they helped a lot. My dad was the MC for the night and wrote a lot of the questions. So it was a very successful event. At that event alone, we raised over $4,000, which is very exciting for the first time ever doing something like that. So we were very pleasantly surprised. And then a lot of those supplies I mentioned earlier, the toothbrushes, toothpaste, all that, Dr. Locke had many great connections, and she was able to find a lot of that for us. And we also got some help from Planned Parenthood as well. Aside from these events, I encourage people to go out and talk with their family, friends, go on social media and kind of promote the program and get people to donate that way. And a lot of us were able to get most of the fundraising goals that we had set. So it went pretty well, I think.
And I do just want to give Sophie kudos. Obviously, this is a very expensive trip for medical students who are scraping to get by eating ramen every night. And the trivia night was such a huge success. It brought together a lot of different members of the community and really added to the fundraising goal that everyone had to meet in order to go on the trip. So very thankful for you and your family for doing that, as opposed to our Dine to Donate events where we raised a whopping $70. So.
Okay, so this is Alexis. You saw her a little bit earlier with the tattoo, but this is kind of her testimonial of like her experience with the Brigade. And so she kind of brings up like the connection that you have with the people whenever you go and work in something like this. A lot of us don't speak Spanish very well and you're not able to communicate that way as well, but like with simply like a smile and kind of, you guys are like accepting each other and kind of trying to connect with people even if you can't speak the same language. And then also kind of at the end where she's talking about global brigades promoting a sustainable communities. I feel like we really felt like we could be a part of that and kind of building the support system there kind of with the clinic set up and helping them with their health and hopefully working towards empowering these communities that we were a part of.
And two small additions. So Alexis was one of our fundraiser successes. She was a part of a community church who fundraised her entire trip for her. Oh, wow. So that was incredible for her to be able to join us because otherwise I don't think she would have been able to. In addition, that video said a lot about global brigades and its sustainability, which I'm sure Dr. Lott will comment on as well. That was a huge thing when searching nonprofit organizations and which one we were going to use. A big thing that we wanted to focus on was sustainability. So once we left, is our impact that we just helped people for 1 week, or is our impact going to be that this community is able to rise up and stay healthy on their own. Global Brigades works with local pharmacies, they work with local hospitals, economically they work with local businesses as well to try to get these communities standing on their feet.
Yeah, and these are just some pictures of some Alexis's experience. So in the upper left-hand corner, that's where they're doing the charla. I think that's one of the Idaho medical students with her, but they kind of like talking to the parents and the kids all about like brushing their teeth and everything. And it was fun. At the upper right-hand corner is at us back at our like lodging at this hotel. We all kind of got together and we got to really like talk with the other medical students that were there and kind of get to know each other as well, which was really interesting, different experiences and different places, which was really awesome.
So this is a testimonial from Greg, who's on our trip. He was one that was going into his 4th year. So he said that seeing different culture firsthand will allow him to better serve his patients in the future and be more cognizant about possible cultural differences that arise. And he said that it also gave him a lot of practice in making a connection with someone in a short amount of time, even though they don't speak the same language. And I know Greg is going into emergency medicine, and I think that both those things will be very beneficial for him in his future career. And these are some pictures of Greg on the trip. He would frequently get lost, and we'd find him hanging out with the kids, playing card games, playing soccer, and just having a really good time and connecting with the people. This was another student on the trip, Michael Brown. He's in our 3rd year class with us, and he said this trip was a reminder of why I got into medicine, to help people and make meaningful connections. Each day was an exercise in teamwork. I've made new friends and memories that will last a lifetime. It was extremely rewarding to engage with patients and families, and he hopes to continue to engage in global initiatives. And he hopes that SIU will be a force of better health globally. And these are some pictures of Mike on the trip. The mask he's holding in that picture, that was from that first day when we got to meet with the indigenous people. That was one of the art things that they made, and it's made from a plant locally that they take and dry out and then make those interesting masks with them, many of them being animals from the area. And then the bottom one is him in the charla going over the public health stuff with the Panamanian people.
I would like to point out also that Mike's shirt should be light gray, but it was about 100 degrees every day that we were there, and that is why it's that dark gray color. We stay far away from Mike for most of the time.
Okay, so one of the big things with this trip was fostering positive relationships throughout our community and cross borders. The Panamanian locals were very thankful for the help that we provided. And also, like we were saying before, the support and sponsorship partnership with the local businesses here in Springfield was also really great. And it was also a really amazing learning opportunity for the pre-medical students, kind of getting a peek into, what kind of things that doctors do, kind of getting to shadow in the clinic was really great. And then us as medical students kind of getting to practice, making the connections with people. Maybe, in our practice, we might meet people who aren't going to be speaking English, but we have to be able to make that connection with our patients. And then also kind of learning about different public health needs that the Panamanian people face. And it's also a really good exposure to different cultures, that's something we maybe haven't seen around here before, things we didn't consider. And then also kind of learning about different health disparities that exist around the world and making new friendships with our peers and mentors and new friends in Idaho.
So at this point, I'd like to invite Dr. Lori Lopp up here. Lori accompanied us on this trip and just stepped up to the plate. Obviously, this is a student-led organization, and we could not have made the trip what it was without Lori and her family accompanying us, so thank you.
What I wanted to share was a little bit more about Global Brigades and the fact that it's actually a relatively young organization. It's only existed for around 21 years or so. And it was really interesting looking into the history of it. Actually, our current dean, Dr. Jerry Cruz, had the opportunity to go on the second trip of this organization. So there's some photos back in early 2000s of Dr. Jerry Cruz. And actually, he attended, we calculated, I think he got to do 8 brigades over about 11 years leading up to 2013. So he definitely has had some incredible experience with global brigades, and truly it's a grassroots kind of effort. One of the things that I think is really, really different about it, and hopefully you can feel that a little bit in the presentation that the students have so beautifully done, is that it really is student driven and really meant to be a lot less structured, I would say, than maybe other mission trips that you've heard about or you've seen presentations about. And it's really in every way designed and structured to have student involvement, motivate students, and hopefully give them an experience of a lifetime. So I really, truly came into this experience kind of in the fourth quarter. So much of what they've already presented in planning and truly creating the global interest group. I mean, it's just an incredible spirit and effort that these students made to have that group come together and make opportunities available that they've presented here tonight. That had already occurred. The dream of the trip had occurred. I missed trivia night. I'm saying some of this because I just really, really cannot speak enough about what the students here tonight and the others that have been mentioned did to absolutely make this trip happen. And so again, it's very student driven. And as you can see from the picture, it's amazing that an organization like Global Brigades provides the opportunity for a collective effort. Had we had 30 individuals from Springfield, we probably would have had a group of 30 individuals from Springfield. But instead, we had this incredible mixing of really small, entities. Again, just one individual who knew that they wanted to be a part of a program. And so Global Brigades helps network and say, okay, we have these 12 from Springfield, we have 7 from Idaho, we have 2 from other organizations, and they put us all together to create this motley crew. And again, we were a mission then. So Global Brigades really gives an avenue, again, for even just one individual who said, maybe at their institution there's not Dr. Agama, but they have the spirit to serve, they have the spirit to be involved. And that's part of what Global Brigades is trying to do, is help create those opportunities for people that may not be at an institution that has as much interest or support. One of the students that joined us had been on the mission with Ashley when she was at the University of Illinois in Champaign. So it's just amazing how those connections come together. And for the majority of us, some of us met at our transitioning flight still in the United States, but the entire group met for the first time in Panama at the airport. So again, it just doesn't take long, and you instantly become a very close-knit team. To speak a little bit more about education, the other incredible thing from my perspective was, again, on the educational side, we really had a team of one Global Brigade staff member that is from Panama, and 2 physicians that were Panamanian that, of course, helped us the whole week, and the pharmacist. But in addition to that, we had, again, the other volunteers that they've mentioned as translators. But Panama wonderfully has a requirement for a lot of the degrees that they provide for students there to do public service. And so one of our translators was an architect finishing her degree. But this week that she did with us was helping serve some of the public service hours that she has as a requirement for graduation. The other translator that was working with us was basically the equivalent of a medical provider who had graduated from medical school. She was getting ready to begin what we would call residency training, but had a time interval in between. So this also, again, allowed her to serve, allowed her to see a lot of medical care, and yet use her language skills with us. So again, in every aspect, all of those people are serving and learning and working together, all a very young team, super young team. I'm pretty sure I was the oldest person, maybe the pharmacist, but so just really an incredible spirit for education and stimulating young professionals to be involved. And again, that's all the way, looks really structured from what we've presented, and there is a structured system there, but truly every week it's its own week. So when we arrived, again, they provide that cultural grounding for the team that comes. And then every preparation that's made for that week, the team that comes helps do that. So on the one picture, they demonstrated the organization of the healthcare packs that we provided, but also all of the medications. So again, part of the cost of us going helps support the cost of medications that are needed. And part of our job was to organize those all into categories. Global Brigades and teams that have gone before us helped prepare kind of a standardized list. So it was very clear what were the things that were available for us to provide for certain common ailments that we knew we were going to be seeing. So there was a lot of structure in place, but we still had to set up everything. And each day we would go in and we would set up our pharmacy and set up our intake station and set up all of the areas that we needed for that day. So again, can't say enough about truly the student spirit and the student effort at SIU, and very, very different again from some of the other mission work that is so amazing and wonderfully done in our community that travels abroad. This, I had the opportunity to go. The students that came from Idaho did not have any faculty member with them. And I definitely think that there are weeks that Global Brigades does missions where there are not faculty members that join their groups of students. Again, there's enough support for them in country with the Global Brigade staff that are there. And it is truly meant to be, again, in the trenches kind of experience for those learners. So a truly wonderful organization, something that we're really fortunate that these students brought to SIU, and I was absolutely very lucky just to kind of jump on the ride of the whole experience.
Okay, so future goals for our Global Health Interest Group. We want to expand our volunteer recruitment and our number of volunteers that are interested in global health initiatives. And one way we're trying to do that is integrate with the Dental and Pharmacy School of Southern Illinois University. So we've been trying to reach out through emails and try to get them involved in these volunteer events and these brigades as well. Also looking for more sponsors and funding so that we can put on even more fundraising events and get more brigades going for the future. We really want to set up Julie to be in a good place for next year so that she's able to get a group of people to. We were hoping to go to Ghana this year, but it didn't work out with the number of volunteers and fundraising. So hopefully next year Julie can make that happen. So by doing both those things, increasing volunteer recruitment and increasing our funding and sponsors, we would be able to expand our brigades to include more public health and dental components to that. The public health components can include digging basically trenches to lay down piping for running water into these communities. That is something I got to do on a brigade I went on in undergrad to Honduras. And that was a very rewarding experience. And then the dental component is just having dentists at the sites as well, and they're able to do tooth extractions, small dental procedures, and kind of get the dental health to where it needs to be. And again, our big goal is to attend another brigade, so we're looking for more opportunities and educational experiences to get us there. And then finally, finding more volunteer events in town. Something similar to Feed My Starving Children, just something that aligns with our health interest group's goal in increasing global health.
And just a fun slide. I think Dr. Loff gave away the answer to this. But right where that purple arrow is pointing, that is our Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Jerry Cruz. He does not know this picture is in here, so please don't tell him. But this picture is from 2003. The co-founders of Global Brigade actually went to Marquette University, and their names are Duffy and Chattal. They led a group of doctors and students to provide medical care to rural communities in Honduras in partnership with a organization called Sur Mario Rosa Legal and a local Honduran organization called Sociedad y Amigos de los Niños. Ninos. It was inspired to perpetuate their mission. Duffy and Chattal formalized a U.S. nonprofit organization called Global Medical Relief, which later developed into Global Medical Brigades. And again, that's our lovely team.
One other thing I wanted to mention, if I can, was just, of course, I'm coming on this brigade from a little bit more of a parental perspective with students that we're traveling with. And this may be a question in all of your minds. Global Brigades does an incredible job. We had a contact, they have an entire team of support, and we had a contact for our mission months in advance of our mission, and meetings that we would have with that person to discuss, any details of the trip, questions that any of the students had, and continuously update one another about the state of the safety of the country, the state of the safety of where we were going. It's obviously paramount for these missions that everyone involved has a safe experience, and that's something that I felt from the very beginning, but of course was bringing quite a critical eye to make sure that it would be successful for our students, and is really an important part of what Global Brigades does prior to the trip to ensure, again, safety. The place that we stayed had wonderful accommodations. They have a very strict rule that no volunteer leaves the grounds where you stay without one of their staff members. So we really were only leaving in the event that somebody were to need something, but generally spent our time either, again, in service or back, essentially resting at the location. And again, for safety reasons, but all very important for future successful trips as well. And I think that was the main thing I was thinking about when the slide was presented there with Dr. Cruz. Again, an organization just a couple of students had an idea for, and has gone, incredibly well, and been very successful for providing, again, incredible service and educational experience for people all over the world.
So again, I just wanted to say thank you all. It means a lot to us as students for you guys wanting to hear our voice and hear about the really cool things that we're doing over at the School of Medicine. So with that being said, any preguntas? Lisa?
I can do this in Spanish. What kinds of illnesses were you able to identify and intervene for the patients?
Yeah, so, a variety, so many different things. Unfortunately, I think we're all prepared to see more acute and kind of crisis scenarios. That's what I was more prepared to see. A lot of what we saw was unfortunately just chronic related conditions and symptoms that people aren't getting care for. And so many times it was helping discuss that with them. Maybe they had seen a provider 3 years previously, but they haven't had any medication for, say, their high blood pressure since that time. And so it was helping, give more education about that, helping them know that day where their blood pressure reading was, providing medication for that month or that 3-month interval that we can. Again, having a sustained program there means that, again, future groups are coming if that location is still struggling to have close access to medication. I just remembered the thing I wanted to talk about, so I appreciate your question. One thing we got to do on the day that we did kind of our culture immersion experience was also tour a local pharmacy. And one thing that the funds that Global Brigades uses for, again, the cost of our trip that helps support ongoing, again, resources in the grounds for these patients is that they have created and support essentially a room or a small closet as a part of someone's home that they open to be a very, very basic pharmacy for that small village. And so then weekly, a Global Brigade staff member comes by and they do essentially kind of an inventory, what's being utilized, what's left, what might they need. And so that's helping provide some of those, again, acute medications or more chronic medications to areas that are really like, again, medication deserts that these patients or villages would not have access to transportation or funding to get to a location where they can get access to medications. So getting to see those, volunteer pharmacies. In the case of the one we visited, it was just a woman in her village that offered to do that. She had essentially the size of what would be kind of a large closet. And so the community, there was a sign on the outside of the building that between 4 p.m. and dark, people could come and ask for whatever they might need from her. And serving in somewhat of a pharmacist role, although she's not a pharmacist, but just to try to provide more access, getting education from Global Brigades to do what she could help to provide help for her village. So that's another incredible resource, again, that they have available, and only through the process of the Global Brigades organization is that even functioning.
Lori touched on this a little bit as well. That was probably the first time where I've seen multiple patients come through a clinic with blood pressures like in the 200s, which for those of you who don't know, your blood pressure should be 120/80. Take your blood pressure medication, please. And there were many patients coming in with that. We saw quite a few children with different rashes, which obviously happens here in the United States too. But it was a little bit different because you have the array of things that it could be is a little bit broader when you're across the sea. As well as, I think Lori prescribed the world's largest amount of albendazole, which is an anti-parasitic medication. I remember she was like, I don't think I've ever prescribed this in the US before. And we gave it to almost every single patient when we were in Panama.
And definitely there was a lot of just, again, families taking advantage of the fact that the organization comes. And so some of it is doing education and providing things for them that they might need. So in a perfect example, we were trying to help provide prophylaxis for anybody that was interested, but they may not have even been having symptoms that day, but they just know that their drinking water and their water sources are a risk factor for them. So if they can get medication that they can have to take as a prophylactic, then they wanted it. So many times it was like, for me, just beautiful family medicine. I mean, we would have a group come in and be like 7 of them, maybe, a mom, an aunt, and 5 children, and we would just see kind of everybody in a group context. And so just lots of groups like that.
How were the safe drinking water and sanitation conditions in those 2 villages? You mentioned it was a risk factor, and did that affect in a small way or a big way the health conditions that you were treating?
So yes, again, with the anti-parasitics, that's not really prescribed that often here. And that is a big risk factor, their drinking water, which is why we decided to do our charla about safe drinking water, how to properly brush your teeth. So we taught them about boiling water to make it safe for consumption, to really kind of in hopes that it reduces the amount of parasites that they're exposed to. So that was kind of like a big thing with the drinking water. For us specifically, Global Brigades takes very good precaution in bringing drinking water for us. So.
And I think it's also what they had alluded to with some of the programming that they were able to do on the other mission, but really with the goal that eventually maybe future trips can be more involved in helping try to create more sustainable sources that are more safe. And that was certainly, when she presented kind of the 300 AIM, water is certainly a big part of that.
Excellent. I'd like to thank our speakers for tonight. Thank you, Ashley, Sophie, Julie, Dr. Lobb, for coming. It's really been very interesting to hear of how you started this group and you've just expanded it into a really impactful way to service underserved communities. So thank you very much.